Celebrating 43 years on the air, Farm Week is a production of Mississippi State University Extension.
Today on Farm Week, the USMCA not happening until next year? Well, time to think otherwise. In Southern gardening, the bigger the better. Big flowers and big color. In the markets, a different perspective today, and it's all about leadership. And we're off the highway once again, this time in search of the perfect Christmas tree. Farm Week starts right now. Hello everybody, I'm Mike Russell. Thanks for joining us today on Farm Week and Merry Christmas. At long last, we finally have a new NAFTA deal, the USMCA, after a year of negotiating between President Trump and his colleagues across the aisle. We got word as we were preparing for this show. Here's a look at what was happening in the world of trade, including just before the USMCA got the green light.
The week of trade news started with a working Thanksgiving holiday as Canada's trade minister came to Washington, D.C. and was joined by contemporaries from Mexico. The three nations are trying to finalize the USMCA agreement. Supporters of the pact would like to see the U.S. Congress sign off by year's end. However, the clock is ticking as House Democrats continue to ask for language adjustments involving labor and safety. Advocates for reworking the 90s-era NAFTA renewed efforts for ratification via press release and conference calls. The group is touting improved opportunities for American farmers and factory workers.
There's everything good about it, plus a whole bunch of things that need to be negotiated now that were not in NAFTA because they didn't even exist at the time of NAFTA, like digital trade is an example, intellectual property is another example. So it's very important that we get this done.
Japan's parliament delivered a win for U.S. producers by ratifying a trade deal that paves the way for import of American beef and other agricultural goods. Japan imports $14 billion in U.S. farm products annually and is America's third largest market. President Trump said when the deal was reached back in September, tariffs would be scrapped or lowered on American beef, pork, wheat, cheese, corn, and wine. The Japanese have long had protectionist policies on agricultural imports. Likewise, the U.S. has targets of its own, including a 2.5% import tariff on Japanese cars. Talks will continue between the two nations with a larger focus on U.S. automobile imports.
We want to tax American companies, so that's important. We want to tax them. That's not for somebody else to tax them.
The president took a global trade message to NATO meetings this week. During public appearances with German and French leadership, global trade again became part of the conversation. Mixed messages on both sides of the China trade deal were common this week. The past 17 months have seen the world's top two economies locked in the biggest global trade war since the 1930s. One of the latest Trump administration barbs accuses Beijing of cheating in order to become an economic power. In October, the two sides agreed to a modest breakthrough, still leaving thorny issues on the vine. The Chinese pledged to buy more American farm exports, while Trump agreed to hold off on raising tariff levels. The president has said the Phase 1 agreement will likely come after the 2020 presidential election. But hours later, a report said otherwise.
I can only conclude that this president's statements is to put pressure on China. I think that I've, in the last 2 weeks, heard so many positive things coming out of Beijing about reaching an agreement, particularly inviting Lighthizer and Mnuchin over to Beijing again to nail things down, that I would not believe that the president really wants to put this off until after the election.
In other news, just days ago, the country, amid the turmoil of the ongoing impeachment effort, received some very good news. Unemployment was at a 50-year low, a jobless rate of just 3.5%. With that in mind, USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue issued a statement as his agency finalized a rule on food stamps. That statement read, "Today's jobs report is further proof that now, in the midst of the strongest economy in a generation, we need everyone who can work to work." To that end, USDA is laying the groundwork for the expectation that able-bodied Americans re-enter the workforce, where there are currently more job openings than people to fill them. We need to encourage people by giving them a helping hand, but not allowing it to become an indefinitely giving hand. Purdue says the rule is designed to rein in the cost of SNAP benefits. The number of people receiving benefits is double what it was 20 years ago. In the Farm Week Newswire, farm labor will likely get an overhaul in Congress in the coming year. The House Rules Committee is examining a broad new labor bill that includes a possible revision of the H-2A visa program. The revisions would help dairy farmers and other producers in need of workers by issuing thousands of new green cards. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are in favor of H-2A changes, though more debate is expected before anything is finalized. Over the last couple of years, trade wars have heightened tensions between countries competing for market share. One example, Brazil. The U.S. has barred imports of Brazilian beef, at least for now, and those barriers aren't likely to be removed as we near the election. Meanwhile, the USDA says it will review the Brazilian meat inspection system after corrective action in the South American country. Until now, farmers and ranchers have resisted the idea that agriculture may have contributed to what some describe as climate change. But now Politico is reporting that producers may be having a change of heart. Weather challenges in 2019 seem to have hastened the shift. Politico says many producers have formed working groups on climate change. It says that discussion is likely to continue in the new year. The EPA has sent its final revision of the new Waters of the U.S. rule, WOTUS, to the White House for a review. The Obama administration passed its version in 2015, touching off a reaction from landowners complaining of a lack of control over their property. President Trump campaigned with a pledge to reduce government regulation. The new version is set to take effect in January. And finally, Reuters is reporting that EPA's Andrew Wheeler has said he's working on a way to solve concerns over, quote, biofuel blending rules that have sparked outrage across the Farm Belt. Not long ago, it announced an RFS reallocation plan that guarantees 15 billion gallons of ethanol a year. Many don't find that plan realistic, however, sparking the idea the EPA chief to look into the issue. No word yet on specifics of another plan. On the lighter side, is bigger better when it comes to color in the landscape? Gary Bachman says sometimes a small effort is all it takes to have a big impact on your garden. Here's Gary with more.
If you want to make a statement in your landscape, then you've got to go big. Let's take a look at a few big flowers that are sure to make a statement. Sunflowers certainly have big flowers, and Tarahumara is one of the biggest sunflower varieties, with huge flowers up to 10 inches across. The robust stalks produce only one enormous solid gold flower that will be filled with delicious edible sunflower seeds and are so big and heavy they droop from the weight. Another big flower is the hardy hibiscus, and this might be the plant for you. Cold hardy and perennial, the flowers are bright and beautiful. The gaudy flowers of hardy hibiscus are huge, sometimes up to 12 inches across. In fact, they're often called dinner plate hibiscus. Now here's a variety that certainly looks big, but it's really a collection of smaller flowers grouped together. But oak leaf hydrangea certainly gives a landscape a big flower feel. The cone-shaped clusters can be up to a foot in length. Another great and unusual choice is amaranth, an ancient grain that can grow 6 feet tall as part of the edible landscape. Elephant head is unique with its huge reddish purple flower heads. A very pretty amaranth that has good autumnal color is Golden Giant. The big flower heads are a bright golden orange color, and each plant can produce up to 1 pound of seed. Big and colorful flowers will certainly draw attention to your garden. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman, and I'll see you next time on Southern Gardening.
We'll take a break right here, but don't go away. Coming up on our Farm Week feature, before you can decorate it, light it up, or stash presents under it, you've got to find your Christmas tree. Just in time for the big day, Zach Ashmore goes off the highway at a Christmas tree farm in Amory, Mississippi. And boy, are those beauties worthy. Go behind the scenes where traditions are born and the firs, spruces, and pines grow tall. Holiday stories don't get much better than this one. That's coming up on Farm Week. Don't go away.
It's a simple idea. Knowledge that transforms lives shouldn't be limited to those on a campus, but extended to any and all who want or need it, wherever they are. At Mississippi State University, we've been making that possible for more than 100 years through the MSU Extension Service. What began as an effort to extend the latest research to farmers has become something much more. Today, we're helping Mississippians from all walks of life, giving them the tools they need to build a brighter future. We're sparking the imagination of students around the state and inspiring the next generation of doctors. We're helping rural communities find their way to the internet and connect to the world at large. And we're teaching families how to lead healthier lives in ways both big and small. MSU is standing firm in its commitment to that one simple idea: extend the knowledge that transforms lives wherever they are.
Before we get back to the show, let's take a look at the Farm Week calendar. Just one item, the Small Farm Outdoor Demo Workshop, Thursday, December 19th from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the Walthall Library in Tylertown, Mississippi. On the agenda, forage and livestock management, leasing land for recreational purposes, and much more. To register, visit online at wildlifeworkshop.msstate.edu/register. Lunch will be provided. For more info, contact Orlando Phelps at 225-270-1379. Now, check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot. In our market report, a different perspective today. Recently, we told you about a special ag leadership program at Mississippi State, named after late Mississippi Senator Thad Cochran. In this story, we meet Will Smythe, a Delta farmer who was one of the first to graduate from this extraordinary two-year program.
Born and raised on the farm, lived there my whole life. It's all I've really ever known. I mean, you don't have to walk far outside of my door to be on the farm. My dad farmed with my grandfather, and my brother and I farm with my dad, and it's part of who we are. Farming for us is a lifestyle. I want my kids to farm, I want it to be here for my grandkids to farm. And I just thought it was time in my personal growth and development to kind of step outside the box and do something that I hadn't really done.
We were thinking about what we could do to help agriculture. And one of the things that seemed to be really important was the need for development of leadership capabilities among agriculture professionals. We hear it all the time, what is TCAP? It's the Thad Cochran Agricultural Leadership Program. I think Will is a good fit for it because one thing, he's a very personable guy. He loves agriculture, he grew up in agriculture, but he also is maybe at a point in his career where he's got what he's doing down pat, and he's looking for ways that he can make a difference.
I think the TCAP program, the most beneficial thing that I am gotten from the program would be just the ever-expanding network, getting to know different people in the ag industry, the challenges they face, how they're confronting those challenges, how they go about doing their business.
We have done a couple of things with this class. They've learned about theories of leadership, how to apply those theories, and they've also learned about aspects of agriculture. From the coast to Verona to the Delta, we've had them all over. They've been on a trip out of state to Arizona. Farmers are similar all over. having others to bounce those ideas off of and back and forth really leads you to developing some synergy and maybe finding solutions that you never would have thought of before.
We saw some of the challenges they're facing with water problems they're having, which is extremely relevant for me being from the Delta, where we get 50-something inches of rainfall a year, but at the same time our aquifer is declining at the moment. So developing a network of contemporaries, whether they're not in row crop necessarily, some of them are, but they're just, wherever we went, I think there was definitely that common interest that we all want to be advocates for agriculture.
Farmers need to be leaders in their communities, and sometimes they are leaders by default. And so it's important for us to develop people who can be out front, who can be that face of agriculture, and this program we think will help us move agriculture forward.
It's making us better. It's developing us as people and potential leaders. I'm glad I did the program because I think it gave me that foundation to build on these leadership skills so we can guide my farm and hopefully guide our industry in the right direction.
That report was produced by FarmWeek's Brian Utley, and since it was produced, Will Smith has continued to grow and learn, drawing on the important lessons he was taught in TCALP. I talked to Will just a couple of days ago and asked him what's next on the agenda.
You know, I want to continue to be involved in the ag programs in our state. I was chosen to be a state committee member for the Young Farmers and Ranchers program, so I'm getting involved with Farm Bureau more so than I was, and I'm glad to do that because it's just another way to continually grow and develop and expand my network and kind of the ag community. Same thing, get to know other guys and learn how they're doing and learn about the problems they're facing and what they're doing to, you know, kind of stay on top of their game, so to speak. But I just want to continue to improve our farm and try to make the right decisions to make us where we can stay in this game.
The head of the TCAL program, Dr. Michael Newman, who you saw in Brian's piece, says reaction to this unique program has been very positive. He gives a lot of the credit to farmers who he says have personality traits that extend the value of their TCALP education.
Farmers have always been innovators, and they've always had to take new technology and make it work for them, because agriculture is a market-driven business. It's very much, you have to be market savvy. And the folks that have participated in our program, they've had their eyes open a little bit. We've been to different states. We've been to different countries. And one of the things you see is wherever you go, people have similar problems, and we're all exploring ways to try to overcome those problems to be successful and keep agriculture strong.
The Thad Cochran Leadership Program is a 2-year program. Over that time, ag professionals attend 9 multi-day seminars, a total of 35 days of intense instruction. There are several trips on the agenda. At least one of them is international. For more info, Google TCALP. Now for a little fun while we get off the highway at the same time. Christmas just a couple of weeks away, but it just wouldn't be a Feliz Navidad without the perfect tree. But where to get one of those, and how do they grow them? Here's Zach Ashmore with all of the answers and just a little bit more.
I'm a stranger man, I'm a stranger man, I'm a stranger man.
Welcome to Off the Highway, a show where we explore hidden gems all across the state of Mississippi that you ought to know about. I'm your host, Zach Ashmore, and today we're headed to the Worthy Christmas Tree Farms outside of Amory, Mississippi. Come on and join me. Welcome to Worthy Christmas Tree Farm, a few miles outside of Amory in Monroe County, Mississippi. This place is one of many agritourism locations across the state. Let's go check it out. Christmas tree farms are a good way to help you get into the spirit of the season. Picking out the perfect tree while it's still in the ground might be one of the oldest traditions there is. Mr. Lowell Worthy's been co-owner of the farm since the beginning.
There were some friends of ours that had opened a farm originally, And so we started, which I started working for them when I was probably 14, 13 years old. And then once they decided to retire, they asked my family if we would like to kind of take it over. So we started planting our trees here, 5 years prior to their retirement, and that way we could be ready. So once they closed in 2010, we opened our farm in 2011.
Of all the varieties of tree they grow out here, the two most common are Leland cypress and Murray cypress. And as you can see, they grow them nice and big. The farm also imports Fraser firs from North Carolina to sell as pre-cut trees. One of the interesting things I learned here was that Christmas tree farms tend to work together.
We have the Southern Christmas Tree Association, and it actually compelled of, say, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. And so we have 3 states that's kind of in our convention, and all of us share our information, and we try to help each other. If someone moving into an area, they'll, send, folks to me, or, I do the same way.
If you're like me and have never gotten a Christmas tree straight from the farm, they like to make it easy for you with a simple process. They give you a tag to place on the tree, which reserves it for you. Then you tear off the bottom of the tag and return it to them. They'll get you your tree and deliver it to your car. While you're waiting for your tree, the farm has plenty of family-friendly activities. They even have Charlie Brown. Good grief.
It takes a while to process the trees and go out to the fields and pick them out and cut them down and bring them up. So yes, we do have like an area like for jumpies, things like that for the kids to play on. We have some swings for the parents to sit. We have some horses to feed and a lot of things that the kids can do kind of while we wait, and that's what we try to do to kind of have a way to kind of pass the time.
Christmas is not the only holiday they celebrate on the farm. Prior, they have a corn maze and pumpkin patch. The business of agritourism doesn't apply to just one season. The same thing goes for raising Christmas trees. Growing time varies based on how big you want it to be.
We start planting just right after that we, cut the last tree. We start planting for the next year. We have to fertilize, we have to put out, we have to plant the trees in, February and March. Every tree has to be shaped twice a year. We have to worry about, fungus, insects.
Christmas tree farming is a year-round business. It's going to take a few years for this little guy to grow to size. You're going to be great. I know it. When they first started the farm, Mr. Worthy needed some advice on how to ensure healthy growth of the trees. He reached out to the Extension Service, and they were there for him.
The local guy does come out here some. He's a friend of mine, and they try to help us with different things. They have an app that he showed me this past year that you can actually tell the soil around your trees. So he helped me a lot, kind of showing me the places that I should work on with fertilizing, things like that.
The farm has another feature, a gift shop and event area. Many farms across the state have begun doing this to take advantage of the rural beauty of their surroundings. People like being able to soak in the charming countryside. This is Sparky. He's sort of the unofficial mascot of the place. He's the first thing you see when you walk into the gift shop. It's his job to sit here and make you feel welcome. And you most certainly did. You made me feel very special. You might have noticed that the tree behind me looked like it had been snowed on. It's not a fake. That tree was grown at the farm, and they used a process called flocking to give it that appearance.
Flocking is kind of a wood-based powder, and so we mix that with water, and so that actually sticks to the tree. So it looks like a heavy snowfall once we get done with it.
I should point out that flocking is a biodegradable process. The flakes are wood-based, and the adhesive dissolves in water. They told me that if you left the tree out in the rain, the flocking would melt away. The shop showcases not only what the farm can do, but what other crafters within the local community can make too. The gift shop is a prime example of a community pulling their skills together to create something truly special. Like this candle, which was made by a local lady out of Amory, Mississippi. Seriously, that candle smelled awesome. I found this particular farm online through mschristmastrees.com and through visitmississippi.org. These are great resources to help you find unique places to visit across the state. When it comes to visiting Christmas tree farms, you'll find they have plenty of traditions.
Christmas tree farms are kind of made of traditions and things like that. The families do the same thing kind of every year. They go and they eat at a certain restaurant kind of while they're coming, and then got a certain way they do things every year. So that's kind of special when a family can come out and spend time together, and I'm glad to be a part of that.
Worthy Christmas Tree Farm is one of many Christmas tree farms all across the state of Mississippi. You ought to look online to find one close to you. Well, that's it for this week. But if you know of any places I ought to know about that are off the highway, send me a line. Who knows? Maybe next time I'll be off the highway in your hometown. Until then, take care.
Leave it to Zach. Another tough day at the office. Well, next week, something a bit more on a sentimental side. A feature sure to tug at your heartstrings. It's the story of a Mississippi master gardener who says that a chance meeting, a reluctant meeting with a special needs child and his father, turned into the mission of a lifetime. A geologist by training, he shares what he knows about dirt with children almost too precious for words. Join us for the story of Dominic's garden next time on Farm Week. Remember, if you missed a story, look for past episodes of Farm Week on our website at farmweek.tv. And before we say goodbye to you, we unfortunately have to say goodbye to somebody else. TJ, step on in here. Terry Johnson, we call him TJ, is a student worker in the TV Center here at Mississippi State. He's graduating soon, and even though he's a student, whoever takes his job will have big shoes to fill, and we just want to wish him all the best. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for working with us.